super Congress to target Second Amendment. Gun owners of America. And they've got the quotes from Harry Reid and ABC News, CBS, and I even found the video last night, openly saying this covers everything. We can do everything. Here's Ron Paul. Paul Joseph Watson has an article on it. Ron Paul sounds alarm on disturbing super Congress. And then disturbing's like the Titanic hitting the iceberg and saying it's disturbing. And then Ron Paul goes into saying it's extraordinary new powers, undemocratic, seizing control, fast track, they can pass taxes, gun control. We're going to go over all of that. Here's another one. Weekly Standard. Fiscal conservatives barred from super committee. It's not a super committee. That's the words of Harry Reid. It is a all-powerful Council of 12 with the 13th member with absolute veto power. That's El Presidente. Here's another great article that breaks it down. The debt crisis is a Trojan horse to cause the fall of America. Yeah, it's designed to bring us into receivership. Amid grumbling from both sides, Senate scheduled to vote on debt deal today. NPR. Morning Examiner. No good can come from super Congress, and it breaks down the issues. But still, this is all mild responses to it. Mild. Let me succinctly break this down for you, and then I'll go to mainstream news saying it with the quotes so you understand, and I have the text of the agreement. It is a totally open-ended power grab. Worse than the, quote, debt deal, leaving an open window per week of $800+ billion a week that the private Federal Reserve could run up on America's credit card in October 3rd, 2008. $27 trillion, we haven't gotten numbers in a year, $27 trillion, over 70% of it going to foreign offshore banks and domestic media. Your tax money. I mean, this is a payoff. This is a buy-off for a systematic corporate takeover of America. It's not coming like the Soviet Russians or Hitler or the Chi-Coms. It's not coming with tanks and airborne troops coming down like Red Dawn. It's all done by oily criminals who have, for decades, taken over every position of power in the federal government and in the bureaucracies and in most of the states. And they, under the presidential decision directives, under the John Warner Defense Authorization Act that Bush started and Obama cemented, they say, we don't need to hear from 50 governors. We've appointed 10 that speak for the states. We don't need to hear from your local rural people. We've set up a rural council under the Department of Defense and Homeland Security. This is a total martial law takeover incrementally. But now we're getting up to Flashpoint. They've been building all this up, growing their tentacles, infiltrating everything, doing it all in plain view, so mostly unconscious people, bureaucrats, cops, military, general public, city councils. This is all done very calmly, very straight-faced. I mean, it's almost like Harry Reid and Boehner and Obama came out and calmly said, by the way, the temperature today will be 102 here in D.C., and there's going to be a meeting down at the park later. We're going to be handing out some free popsicles and talking about bicycle safety, and oh, by the way, a giant 10-mile-wide spacecraft just landed a mile away, and there's green aliens running around. Now, back to weather. I mean, it's that crazy, but they just kind of, well, like you do something in church. You let something out real slow in church, make sure nobody's looking at you, and then act like it wasn't you. That's what they've done. And people, it blows me. We have all these experts on, all these economists, all these historians. And most of the time, as my staff's pointed this out and others, I know more than they do. I don't think of myself as that smart. But I guess I do spend 15, 16, 17, 18 hours a day and lose sleep because I'm so obsessed with reality, studying everything, so I can tie everything together. And it's just, but it's not even hard. They have set up something in 235 years that's never existed, where 6 members of the House, 6 members of the Senate, and the president, with the veto power over it, bills don't originate from members of the House anymore. Anybody can introduce a bill and then get co-sponsors and have it debated, and for 6 months it's in committee and looked at from every angle. No, listen to me carefully. I can't even believe this is happening, even though I knew it was all coming. The fact that it's done and very few people even get what they're seeing here. Listen to me. 12 in the House, 6 in the House, 6 in the Senate, 1 Obama. That's 13. Council of 13. 6 in the House, 6 in the Senate, and Obama. 13. Now, listen to me carefully. Now, I'm going to read it from mainstream news to you. And they just say it nonchalantly, like it's some boring thing they've announced. Or, oh, good news, we won't go bankrupt now, we're not going to collapse. When it's the contrary. It's designed to bring us into this. They can't have the rest of the Congress having the power to vote and speak up and the power to introduce bills because they know the people are going to get more and more awake and angry. So you've got this 13-member board with the president sitting in it. Drum roll, please. You got this 13-member council, and they originate the bills now. And then they bring the bill to the full House and Senate for an up-down vote, which they, again, don't have. And now here's the kicker. If they don't sign on to the plan they're presented, then the council just does whatever it wants. It just says, and I'm going to read the text, then the council will apply the cuts and the taxes. So you do the plan we want, House and Senate, or we do whatever we want. I mean, did you hear that? This is a total dictatorship, a fusion of the emperor, Caesar, and an inner coterie of senators and House members. I mean, did you hear what I just said to you? We'll be right back. Okay, so a council of 13, an act of high treason, has been passed by the House of Representatives. We are reportedly hours away from the Senate passing the same thing. The House and Senate are not allowed to hand away their authority. But they are basically signing a treaty with their vote with 6 members of the House, 6 of the Senate, and the executive. A treasonous treaty. Could the House and Senate sign a treaty to let the UN run America? Well, they have people on television telling us that that's the case. And then international law trumps our law. And that the UN says we can go to war, so we can go to war. We don't need a Congress. That's what's happening. And it's called the overthrow of our political system. But they call it a committee or a super Congress. No, if they vote to create a committee that will then try to organize the different bills that are still voted on, and then that committee comes forward with a final bill, that's what a committee is. A committee is not 6 in the House, 6 in the Senate, where they originate the legislation. That's not how legislation is originated. This is a whole new form of government, a whoredom, a legion of doom, a legion of corruption. 12 wicked, mafioso, ringwraith, craven scumbag traitors. In fact, there's a headline right there. Super Congress debt ceiling. Negotiators aim to create new legislative body. That's the Huffington Post. In fact, let me just go through these. So this is happening right out in the face of everyone. This is the equivalent of July 4th, but a bad July 4th. If it passes today, it's passed the House, August 2nd will be known as the date that a disgusting 13-member dictatorship was created. And the president has the veto power. So he's the dictator, and he has these 12 wicked generals. And because they sit there and say it in real boring terms and look down and fidget and talk about how it's a victory for America and we averted collapse. That's why they built it up. We're going to collapse if we don't get this agreement. This agreement made it all about debt and cuts and what are we going to cut. That's not what they were after. That was all a smokescreen. Hidden in 100% plain, total view. A new form of government. With the leaders of the House and the Senate and the president. And saying, in fact, if you don't believe me, I just showed you the Huffington Post. And they're reporting it dryly. Oh, new legislative body. It's unconstitutional, but so what? President's a dictator. We love it. If we allow him to get away with it. You see, that's what dictators don't come out and say. I'm a dictator. Martial law. They say security. We're going to have more police out. Security. Military. I'm launching a security operation in Libya. I'm launching a security operation in Poland or Danzig or Austria. My name's Hitler. They don't come out and say, hey, we're crooks, we're taking over. They come out and say, well, we've got a very dry, convoluted, and both sides compromised, and both sides aren't happy, but this will avert a collapse, and we're going to work on it now, and the cuts aren't even real, and it's all, that part's all a scam. We're going to get into that. Kerry Reid and all of them are publicly, I'm going to read their quotes, licking their chops, saying we can cover everything, gun control, borders, debt, banker bailouts. Oh, they're getting ready for the next looting. The original looting's ongoing, but even more. Carbon taxes. Hey, ATF? Why do you think Obama did something no president's ever done and said, well, I don't need a law. I'll just order the ATF to put new laws and new regulations in over gun dealers and start harassing gun owners. They're just doing it. I've never seen anything near this magnitude. Here's CBS News. Last night, right after it passes, a summary of the debt ceiling. And I'll show folks a document cam shot of this. We're watching on PrisonPlanet.tv. A summary of the debt ceiling compromise. And then it goes on to say 269, 161, 174 traitorous Republicans and 95 Democrats. And it goes on to dryly in the bottom of the article say, the agreement creates a 12-person House and Senate special committee. Oh, it's very special. To identify further spending cuts. The committee must complete its work by Thanksgiving, November 23rd. Oh, really, it actually continues after that. And Congress must hold an up or down vote on committee recommendations. Oh, it's a recommendation, but you must vote it up or down. But wait, it gets worse. The committee could overhaul the tax code, which they're announcing they're going to increase taxes, or find savings in benefit programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Savings means cuts. Congress could not modify the committee's recommendation. Oh, you can't modify my recommendation. It's like Don Corleone. Your signature or your brains will be on the contract. Continuing. Now, here's the key. Now, listen to this carefully. This is CBS News. Listen to the magnitude of this. Should the special committee deadlock, or should Congress reject the committee's recommendations, the automatic across-the-board spending cuts of at least $1.2 trillion would go into effect. But the committee, if you read the language, decides the cuts. So you do what we say, or we do what we want. Period. We're dictators. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen the president 2 weeks ago couldn't get the bill passed. We put out a special video, Obama launches gun grab, showing Congress months ago saying we're going to pass a bill where when you sell 2 or more rifles, that the form has to be filled out, a lengthy form on the person and sent to the ATF, even though they already have the National Gun Tracking Center. They already have the instant check. You already have your background check runs at the FBI. They already write down handgun, rifle, shotgun. They already know. It's about setting the precedent outside of law to just say, we say do this, now jump. We pick these 4 states and say that you have to do this. And I talked to 2 different Austin gun dealers and to someone in my office. And one of them talked to the ATF, one of the gun dealers. Then we're going to Larry Pratt. I want to fill you in on this. We put a special report out on, as you know, yesterday. And the gun owner, the gun shop owner, called the ATF agent he knows, Daniel Jones here in Austin, the guy that runs the little sting operations against the gun shows to shut them down using illegal aliens. And he told him, this is weeks before they got the letter, he said, don't worry, that bill didn't pass, so we're not going to implement something that isn't law. Well, guess what? Didn't pass. They did it anyways. And it's a test. It's a tyrant's test. War in Libya. Congress says, well, you got to come to us for approval. Well, we'll even give it to you. He says, I don't need your approval. Puts out a statement saying this is for the legitimacy of the UN. That's a quote. That's treason. I take my orders from the UN, not the stinking Constitution. Carbon taxes outside of congressional law. Waivers to his buddies on health care outside of law. Waivers on the carbon taxes. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it goes on and on and on and on. And I am literally not scared. It's more like once a car wreck's already started and you're flipping down a ditch. I've been in a couple really bad car wrecks. One time a tornado blew me off the road. I've told you that story. Me and my dad almost got killed. But once you're already flipping, you're not really scared. You're mainly just trying to hold on. And I'm seeing this, and it's happening with a whimper, not a bang. Now, if you just joined us, I just read from CBS News saying, oh, it's so wonderful. The 12-member board will create the legislation. Doesn't come from the bottom of the House anymore. Isn't debated. They will present it to the House and the Senate for an up or down vote. And then if they don't agree to what they're presented, then the Super Congress goes ahead and decides what to cut. I read you that from CBS News in the last segment. Article titled A Summary of the Debt Ceiling Compromise. And by the way, the Senate just passed it. I mean, I am feeling sick at my stomach. Super Congress, here's another report, Super Congress debt ceiling negotiations aim to create new legislative body. That's Huffington Post.